Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Playeasy Warmup Podcast. I am your host, co-founder and president of Playeasy, Kerri Shields. And today we're diving into the world of off-road adventure and endurance sports with a very special guest, Steve Andrus, the driving force behind XTERRA. Known for their epic triathlons and trail runs set in some of the most stunning locations on the planet, XTERRA has built a global reputation for combining grit, community, and a deep respect for the outdoors. Steve brings a wealth of passion and experience to his role, and today we'll explore how XTERRA is shaping the future of outdoor sports, fostering community, and staying true to their mission of adventure-driven sustainability. Whether you're an athlete, an event organizer, a destination, or simply someone who loves the outdoors, this episode is packed with inspiration and insights. So let's lace up our trail shoes and jump into the XTERRA story with Steve Andrus. This episode of the Playeasy Warmup Podcast is proudly sponsored by Sports Richmond, Virginia, where history meets adventure and sports thrive. Richmond isn't just a destination, it's an experience waiting to be discovered. The Richmond region, also known as RVA by the locals, blends hip with history and character with culture in a one-of-a-kind destination. Our region offers something for everyone, regardless of budget, interest, or age. Take advantage of all there is to see and do, and discover for yourself why the Richmond region was named #1 town to visit by CNN. If you're looking to take your next sports event or visit to the next level, make Richmond your destination. Learn more about what Richmond has to offer at sportsrichmondva.com. Thank you, Sports Richmond, Virginia, for supporting this episode and helping us share the stories that make sports and travel so impactful. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Playeasy Warmup Podcast. I am very excited to have Steve Andrus here today, the XTERRA's America's Tour Manager. Steve, thanks so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, Kerri. Excited to talk and work with Playeasy today.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Steve, just to get started, could you give a little bit of your background and how you came to be involved with XTERRA?
Yeah, that's a quick summary. So my previous involvement before working with XTERRA, I worked in the ski industry in Utah. Had the opportunity at the resort I was at to work with XTERRA to bring in the event to Utah several years ago. And from there, as my role there, got to get to work with them. And then periodically I would go take working vacations per se to go help with the XTERRA team in the U.S. And then, fast forward through my involvement for several years, I was approached, it'd be 3 years ago, actually 3 years ago now, to be, if I was interested, number one, we wanted to talk about XTERRA in the U.S., the marketplace, how do we grow it, how do we enhance and regrow XTERRA specifically in the U.S., through some ideas and things that I've seen from my observation, whether it was involvement through the ski industry, working with the tourism aspect, or what I've had with XTERRA, throughout some ideas, what I've seen. Those ideas stuck, and next thing you know, I'm working for XTERRA, which has been an absolute blessing and very grateful and happy to what I do now. So that is how I came about with XTERRA, and it's now been 3 years, but my overall involvement with XTERRA has been, if you put it into years, it's approaching 19 years in one way or another with XTERRA.
That's awesome. Time flies. Time flies when you're having fun.
Absolutely.
But so for those who might not be familiar with XTERRA, could you give us an overview of what the organization is and its mission?
Absolutely. We are, and actually, XTERRA is really an active outdoor lifestyle brand focusing on living life to its fullest, engaging in outdoor activities, embracing the human spirit through outdoor adventure. We do a lot of things through whether part of our activations happen to be XTERRA Triathlon, which is off-road triathlons, which a lot of people are aware with us. We also have XTERRA Trail Run World Series, as well as an XTERRA Youth Series that we're developing. We have XTERRA World Cup. We also have XTERRA Discovery Series, which actually talks about the human lifestyles, human engagement through communities and the embracing of some of our core values. And so we have some of those stories that are out there. And, then there's several other components. As I explain to people XTERRA, I utilize or talk about like a bicycle wheel. The hub is XTERRA, but then what makes it strong is the spokes. And each of those spokes is what makes up XTERRA. With the catalyst of sustainability, human connection, and inspirational stories. So that is really what encompasses of XTERRA. We've seen a lot of growth over the last several years as we refocus and re-energize our brand regarding that active outdoor lifestyle.
That's super helpful. And what inspired the creation of XTERRA, and how has it evolved over the years since it started?
Honestly, XTERRA started, we'll be in 2026, we'll be coming up on our 30th year. So years ago, it started in Hawaii. It was a group of, amazing people that said, hey, we want to put together some sport that we have, taking mountain biking that was going on strong. Let's throw in swimming in the ocean aspect and trail running. And again, this is a bridge story or bridge version. You can see our history on the website, but then we take it, to a series of people who fall in love with what's originally called XTERRA, then it became XTERRA, and then it has grown over the years and spread from a local organization now to a global organization where we have races throughout the whole world and engagements throughout the world.
Awesome. And I advise anyone who wants to learn more about where the types of events you have are. Your website does an awesome job of marketing each of the events and series on your website. And so what sets XTERRA apart in the outdoor and endurance sports world?
One of the things that we take pride is in community engagement, specifically embracing our local communities, taking a sustainable approach, but it's coming in and really embracing the local history that's there, embracing local communities to bring the sport in, to introduce the community to the sport and vice versa, the athletes and the sport to the communities. That is one thing that we really take pride in and really set apart ourselves, is that festivalization component that we talk about, and then nurturing our communities and local nature.
That's great. And so when you're looking for a new location for an XTERRA event, what are you looking for out of a host destination?
Number one, and first and foremost, the community we're looking for is someone that is open to ideas, collaborating, working together, as we view this as a collaboration when we come into communities. For our typical events, we are triathlon, we have body of water, we have local trails, mountain bike trails. So for swimming, it's a 15-meter swim, so just a mile swim more or less, and then a 30K mountain bike run, and then a 10K run. And then, so with that being said, we have all those aspects. But then what we do like to see is communities that have a centric location, whether it's downtown or close near to the city, so that we can engage and create an ambience that everybody is looking forward to attending, and really creating a festival aspect so that, again, we talk about embracing and engaging the community. It's a way that we can integrate both the XTERRA athletes and the community. So those are key elements that we have. And we also have our Trail Run World Series, we have trail running, we have a lot of other activations that are out there that we work with. So for me, looking as I talk with communities throughout the country or internationally, we always talk of, what are their goals? What are they trying to accomplish? What is their ROI? How can we work together to accomplish those? Because we view it as a collaboration versus us just coming in and putting on an event. It doesn't make sense to do that. We want to meet their objectives as well as ours. And one of the things I always tell organizers, or whether it's sports commissions, tourism bureaus, mayors, city council, we want to elevate the brands. And so it's equally important to elevate XTERRA's brand with the community brand. And by doing that, working together. And so if we talk about what we're looking for, we're looking at those communities that embrace that understand what they would like to see and accomplish.
I think it's super interesting. The endurance sport world is very foreign to me. And so I've recently interviewed someone from bass fishing, and they had a very similar answer of they're looking for a collaborator, a real partner to figure out how you can best build both of your brands, but the event, and foster that within the community, which is cool to see across totally different types of sports wanting the same thing.
It is. And actually, it's kind of the mindset that people are taking now. And it's like, yeah, you can come in and put on an event, but what's going to make it stand out and memorable?
Yeah. So, do you have an example of one of those successful partnerships that you've had in fostering those events?
I do actually have quite a few. One of those would be in Alabama, working with Shelby County. we worked with them for a few years, but it's their engagement, understanding what they're wanting to do, working together by creating an LOC or local organizing committee, coming in to be able to identify what their goals, and then working together for the trail maintenance, building the trails or developing trails from their community organizations, the body of water, helping with the state park where that is at, but then them embracing to help tell the story and then promote it as well, equally, and take pride in having XTERRA. This is within Alabama I'm talking about. This will be our North America Championship again this upcoming year and part of our World Cup Series. So there's a lot of great components with that. Another example that I will dare say that is probably our biggest success locally or lately has been with the town of Ruidoso, New Mexico. Believe it or not, they reached out looking for some type of sport, something to help engage and to re-energize and reintegrate who Ruidoso is. They reached out via LinkedIn, talked with Eddie Ryan, who actually oversees sport, destination, and events there. And then from get-go and introductions with them, went out on a site visit, had everything lined out. They had a story that they wanted to tell. They saw the vision and then moved forward with all the things that they have in play by working with the great LOC. And here we are, this now coming up for our inaugural event this August at Ruidoso. So again, people like, where's Ruidoso? Where are they? And so there's a prime example. They don't have to be commonplace or big cities, but they see the vision. They want to be able to engage, have tourism within their area, and this is the way to do it.
That's awesome. And it's interesting because especially from the outdoor sports, you're able to see so much of the city within just coming to your event and supporting your event. And so that's a great success story. And so for someone who would come and participate in the event or spectate at the event, what could someone expect out of those few days?
A full immersive experience. Whether you're a non-athlete, we want those folks coming out. We want them to engage in the community. There will be expo. There will be there'll be music. There's entertainment going on. There's food, local cuisine, local culture, and heritage that we really embrace. And so it's bringing those elements to to the events. It's then the elevation of sport through the athletes, not just the elites, which sometimes people focus on, but it's embracing the age group athletes. It's bringing them on board, sharing them on, and being inclusive. And so welcoming every aspect or level of athlete, whether it's a first-time triathlete or someone that, is getting back into sport. We don't care. We want to embrace them and then be able to showcase their successes. And so that is really what you'd get at an XTERRA event. And it's just that a feeling of camaraderie and community aspect that we really try to embrace through our festivalizations.
That's awesome. And you speak about the youth and getting them more involved. What ways has your organization tried to expand the sport into the youth and really foster the sport?
Thank you so much for sharing. This is near and dear to me specifically. So last year we started our youth series and we had our Youth World Championship that was held in conjunction in Mulvana last year. It was a first year event. Now we're really growing and working with whether it's USA Triathlon, working with other organizers to really embrace the youth market. As everybody knows, you need feeder groups. You need to elevate and grow and establish and nurture your groups. What other better way to do that is support the youth. And we've divided it into 3 regions. We have a Youth A competition, which is, starting at 14 up to, Youth A, Youth B, and then our junior elites or levels, giving them a platform and a race that they can qualify and have their own stage on the World Championship. And so with that being said, it's now promoting and building that throughout the U.S., throughout the Americas, and to be able to foster and grow. Within the United States specifically, there's a large, the mountain bike scene through NICA and what they're doing, which is very commendable. How do we tap into some of these athletes that are non-traditional sports and working on ways to work with communities, local organizers, to be able to embrace and develop and build these upcoming youth athletes. So that is where we're at with youth. We will have part of our event in Alabama this year, the first ever North American Youth Champions crowned as well, which is exciting. And then those athletes will then represent the U.S. and North America in Moveno, Italy this year. So again, there's a lot of good stuff. And so for us, there's always opportunities to embrace and enhance and grow the market and collaborate with people.
And when you say youth, what are the typical age groups that would be involved in those festivals?
So the youth aspect for youth racing, it's 13 to 15. We have, 13 to 19 years of age. And so they fit within those realms of those age categories following World Triathlon standards for age categories. But one of the things that we also do, it's not just for those athletes. We also have kids races where they can come in, and we encourage our partners to put on kids races. When I say kids, you're looking at like little 2 to 3 year olds on Strider bikes. We have fun little running races. That's part of that festival that we do. And to be able to embrace these kids and create an active lifestyle support of that. So again, there's not just the youth, but there's kids, there's just all those people, just to be able to get that excitement. And then for the opportunity then for them to race within that same weekend as higher level amateurs, or even watch the elite pros race. So it's kind of cool to be able to mesh all those together.
Yeah, and I'm sure just give exposure to the sport and Absolutely. Getting them involved. And even preparing for this conversation, I was watching some videos and highlights from past events, and just thinking of the mental toughness that it takes to compete for any athlete that is, I was a basketball player, but the amount of mental toughness that coincides with any other sport, I thought was very eye-opening.
Oh, it is very eye-opening. Actually, it's very encouraging to see. These athletes are putting it all out on the line, no matter what sport it is. In the triathlon world, specifically in cross triathlon, is where our realm is in. It's taking the non-traditional, the mountain biking skills. You're taking the trail running skills where you're throwing in rocks, roots, gnarly trails that go through whether they're off jumps, whether they're coming through tight trees. It's embracing all those and letting them go full out to challenge themselves. And again, I really value, and I think it's a bit of self-discovery for a lot of these athletes to come in, an accomplishment. And so we really take pride and cherish what they're doing.
That's great. And is there a part of the U.S. that XTERRA is most popular, or that you're looking to grow in?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. You brought up my alley. Yes, in fact, we're really looking at growing and expanding regionally. We've, over the last several years, we've had to refocus and re-elevate what is it that we're trying to accomplish. Not just having a ton of races out there, the quantity, but we got to look at quality. Looking at the right partners. That again, I've talked earlier about elevating our brands, working cohesively, and that is what we're looking at. And so, every region, every area, we're open to discussing and what those happen to be. I like to call us rebranding, rephasing 2.0, because we are elevating and growing and developing new series. We have a lot of good stuff coming on the horizon for 2026. I can't go into detail about that. But I will say in March, we will be having some big announcements that will affect 2026, and hopefully be able to draw more interest within the states to be able to have, those type of events, or XTERRA type of event, to come in and be able to be on this world tour.
And I know I mentioned a bit about your marketing and your branding and how impressive it is as a whole. I know that's something that's near and dear to your organization. How has that kind of influencer marketing impacted the growth of the sport? I first and foremost, I would say that, XTERRA really was more or less the creator of off-road triathlon. It started with XTERRA and then grew, and, it's been embraced by World Triathlon. So the XTERRA brand, was synonymously known for sport in the triathlon world. We're now spreading that out for an active outdoor lifestyle. It's nurturing sport and through those various elements. So as we grow, we expand, we retell the story of XTERRA. We're really proud. And so that footprint that we're taking has been receptive, and it is very strong. And we're looking forward to showcasing and telling the story of more of what XTERRA is, who we're about, and reaching all corners of the world. That's awesome. And so logistically, as you're looking to grow, what is the bare minimum that a destination or host needs in order to host any type of XTERRA event?
So what we're looking for is number one, again, there's 2 points, whether it's a trail run or a triathlon. We're looking for, if it's a triathlon, we're looking for a body of water that's near a community that has access to mountain bike and hiking trails, multi-use trails. And then it's the same for our running event. With that is a footprint that can host a transition where we can put bikes, and then a finish area that would host a festival that we're looking at. We'd really like to look at, as we're talking with new and working with new locations, really a proximity to downtown centers of these smaller communities or large communities, that it's not a disconnect, so that we're embracing everything. So the finish that's near the center of the community is always ideal, just so that we are, that cohesiveness versus being, removed and having that aspect. So that is one piece of it. And then for like the trail run, it's just having the access to the trails for our trail run series. Typically that's a half and full marathon distance part of the trail run series that we're looking for. And so having those distances available, and then having the local resources as well, that we like to, as I talked about sustainability earlier, we like to hire locally. We like to work with local organizers as we come into locations so that we keep the money within the community. There's no need to have the old business model. Everybody would come in with their traveling circus, semis coming in, all the people are coming in from outside, different flights, all that non-sustainable efforts that come in and put on the event and leave. Well, now we've changed that mindset up as working locally, working with the local organizers that are there to be able to help put on these events through our direction and collaboration. And then we keep the economic impact and money locally. We're not having to, look at all the, the green footprint by not having all that airfare, you're not having all those wasted energies. And so that is what we're looking at for events coming in.
That's great. And I know destinations love to foster, that community growth and get their local businesses and hotels and whatnot involved. And I know you recently had an event in Maine with Sheila at Maine, yes. Spoke so highly of the experience, yeah. That you were able to have, just having like a local brewery sponsoring. So everyone was going and drinking the local beer outside of, a casual bar. But it does so much for the experience of that event to be able to really experience that whole community when you're traveling for it. So I know destinations will love to hear that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Sheila. I would actually put her at the very top of the scale as part of our partnership success. We hosted the World Championships in Maine, working and collaborating with Sheila, Maine Sports Commission, Sugarloaf Resort, and the local community of Carabasset. And so that was a big, our success was working with the LOC hand in hand to achieve those goals. And we knocked it out of the park for the last 2 years.
I know she speaks just as highly of all of you guys. But so I know you've mentioned sustainability. So with so many outdoor events, how does XTERRA prioritize environmental sustainability?
That, number one, we look at what communities have and a sustainable impact. What are their goals for sustainability? How do they view it? We look at, through our recycling and diversion that we have on site for events. We look at how we mark our trails. We look at, sourcing local, whether it's reclaimed wood or, how do we work with local things so that we can create rewards that are locally or indigenous, and then whether it's recycled, that is an aspect. Again, we also look at, our carpooling. We talk about, with our flights, hiring local folks. So, but we're very, very conscientious, not just within the States, but globally about what our sustainable charters are. And, granted, we're not perfect, but we are making strides every day.
That's great. And is that something that once you create that partnership, you're working together to really provide resources and figure out best practices? Or
Absolutely. Yeah, we do. We talk with, if you look at Alabama, we work with our local organizer that helps with the festival, getting contracted people to come in to be able to, number one, tell a story about recycling, but also be there at each recycle station to sort, to be able to divert food waste, all of those things. And so we work towards striving in what local resources are available, and then we contract with those folks to make it happen.
That's awesome. And I know you also spoke about the importance of the community aspect within your organization. How do you really foster that sense of community?
There's twofold: community within the athletes, and those type of elements. We really, communication. We foster that relationship. We create a memorable experience that you go away. It's like, wow, that was great. But we can't do that without working with our local community partners. Again, I talked about collaboration, taking the aspect of us coming in to do an event and a collaborative effort to be able to meet our goals and achieve those together. That if you do that and focus on those elements, you create an atmosphere that's immersive, that's embracing and engaging to all levels, all people, whether athletes, supporters of the community, or vice versa. And so involving all those. And then we look at how do we, part of the community, how can we embrace or reach out to other parts that we may not be seeing through, engagement. An example of that would be last year with our North America Championship. We reached out with organizers, and we brought in all of these high school kids and created an XTERRA marching high school band that was through all the local, high schools and junior highs, that we had all these kids that are non-traditional athletes, but they were now participating in XTERRA. They played the national anthem on TV. They were able to be at the finish line playing. These kids got embraced. And so that is another way of an example of how we embrace and reach out to the community. And that's some of our success stories. And, we find ways, and we challenge our locals and our partners we work with to find ways to embrace that change. So it's very, needless to say, it's very valuable and important to us that we do that.
Yeah. And it's clear that that's something you're passionate about. And that's what you remember as kids, that experience of feeling, a part of a community. And so I always love to hear those stories and examples. And so just over the course of the last 3 years, you've grown. You said you're trying to expand. How has innovation and technology helped with that growth?
Oh my God. If you look at our website for athlete services, we have a World Performance Index where athletes are rated upon how many, events they do. They get certain points, and they can actually see where they rank, where they finish at various events more on the world scale. So they can look into that, and then our technology through media, and then through our timing services. If I were to start at the top, whether it's sport or festivalization, it's completely changed night and day. I remember years ago for filming in a production, we would have helicopters flying over. Now you have it with drones, and you have those drones that athlete POV that are right by them. And so that's really enhanced some of those pieces. But then our technology within our website, and what things that our global team and our IT team is creating to stand out from others. And so those are very big key elements that we're proud of, that if you look at the website, you'll be able to see all those differences.
Yes, I will co-sign that as well. And so as we get into the start of 2025, what are you most looking forward to this year?
Several things. Number one, continuing on the trajectory we have, setting goals with my team to be able to grow and expand XTERRA. It's working with platforms like Playeasy to be able to reach out and develop for 26 or 27 and create strategic alliances regionally, not only within the States, as well as Canada and then all the other areas. We have a lot of new events that are coming within the Americas, but really focus on now growing and establishing some of our partnerships we have. We had an event that came on board last year in Branson, Missouri. That's a great event, but now we're just trying to establish and keep that growing, as well as our event in Ruidoso. And we just keep looking at growing strategically, whether it's based off each region. And so that is a big push that I'd like to see by 2026 that I'll be driving with the team, is to have at least 3 new events within the U.S. by 2026. So that's triathlon or trail run, but and collaborative community partners as well. That's the other aspect of it.
I'm excited to continue to follow. And so just as we wrap up here, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned since being with XTERRA?
Patience, number one, humility. Those are the big ones, understanding that we need to work together with communities. It's taking that collaborative, equal approach versus coming in, we are the big fish in the pond. It's not the case. We need to make sure that we understand others' needs. We hear them. We work together. It's establishing, not just focusing on what our goals and initiatives. And I think that's the old model of what folks used to do. But it's understanding what works for both and then establishing goals and objectives to become. So that's part of the humility, is be able to accept that and work together and then be open to new ideas and creativity. And that is really what embraces XTERRA as well. So there's a lot I look forward to. There's a lot, as always, moving, growing. I'm definitely a fan of the term failing forward. You're not going to always knock it out of the park. You learn from your failures or some of those shortcomings and be able to keep moving forward and growing.
I love that. That was all. I'm going to take some notes after this this episode. But Steve, thank you so much for being here. If anyone wants to get in contact with you, whether that be a host destination or wanting to learn more about getting involved with XTERRA, what's the best way to connect with you?
I would, please email me. That's steve.andrus@xterraplanet.com. That's probably the best. I really like people reaching out directly to me. I'm very personable. I do love communicating with folks. I do also like just to be able to talk, and I'll be honest, if it doesn't work, but also provide ideas and insight. At the end of the day, it's all about growing tourism and sport. And so if I can be helpful in any way, I'm definitely there. But yeah, reach out to me, set up some time to talk, get on a call, and we move from there.
Awesome. Great. Well, Steve, thank you so much for being here. I learned a ton, and I'm excited to get more of your story out there.
Kerri, thank you. So are we. Please, contact me.
Awesome. And I'll have all of your info within this episode. And so, Steve, thank you again. And thanks for being here. Until next time. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.